At Baishizhou Village, the final few residents cling to what is left of their neighborhood and their unique way of life, while their entire village crumbles around them. Baishizhou is in Nanshan district, with direct views of the Eiffel Tower at Windows of the World, one of Shenzhen's most popular tourist attractions. Only a decade ago, Baishizhou was Shenzhen's most famous urban village. It was home to approximately 150,000 residents in an area of only approximately 0.6 square kilometers. This extremely dense, dynamic urban village was once the first stop for almost every migrant to Shenzhen who came looking for work, accommodation, or a sense of community, and others from his or her hometown. In 2019, it was slated for urban renewal, and despite its storied history and its many reluctant residents, demolition was set to begin not long after. Of course, 2020 and the ensuing years happened, but now here we are in April 2025, and very little remains of the village once known as Baishizhou. 这里是白石洲村吗？
白石洲村啊，
都
算是
冷静吗？
你要去哪里啊？
你看一下。
你就是到处转转。
嗯。
那这里就可以啊，
这里
可以转的。
从这里。
你走到前面都出，那这个出口就里面的，你会不会走啊
？OK。都要拆吗？
对啊，他这里说是要拆嘛，但是他现在都没有，都好像有一点烂尾的。都有，四处都有人。好的，可以转。好的，谢谢你。谢谢。So right now I'm entering Baishizhou. It's like the biggest, densest, craziest urban village in Shenzhen in history in the past. But as you can see, a lot of it is construction, or I should say, demolition. You. 哎，你好，不客气。打麻将啊？对啊。是什么样的麻将？四川麻将吗？不是，广东麻将。广东麻将，可以碰可以吃吗？不可以吃。不可以吃，这可以碰。这里可以逛一逛吗？可以逛啊。你是哪个国家的？我是美国人。你是美国人？美国人，对。哎，你说我们中国话说的这么好啊？还行吧，谢谢。因为我这第一次发现了。啊？我是第一次发现美国人说中国文。是吗？说的这么好啊？你认识很多美国人吗？啊？你认识挺多美国人吗？我看到你像不要回来，我以为你是俄罗斯的。俄罗斯不行。不是俄罗斯的。我是美国人。你是美国人啊？美国人。我是美国加州的。哦。你哪里的？我们是中国人啊。你是广东的？我是湖北的。湖北的。湖北，你知道不？我知道，我去过。你去过？全中国都去过。哎呦。那你住在这里吗？我们现在在这边打工啊。打工。拆掉吗？还是？对。这个以前是深圳最大的城中村。啊，是。对。现在什么都没有。现在把贴钱了。以旧换新嘛。你会打麻将吗？我会的。你会打？好，谢谢。Unfortunately, I never got to come here when it was at the peak of its power. Something like maybe 2014 or so, I would say, just from my readings. Now, estimates vary on how many people were actually living here at the time. Anywhere from like 100,000 to 300,000 people. You might remember my urban village in Guangdong. That has an estimate of 50,000 people living in that urban village in a very small area. 都要拆掉吗？要。什么时候拆？不知道。And tons of migrants from all over China came to live in here. Supposedly one of the most vibrant, crazy, diverse, fun places to live in Shenzhen at the time, with tons of nightlife, bars, people eating yeshao, eating street food. Everything was here. It's a whole city within a city. Just a few big urban city blocks. Absolutely mental, right? And now there's not much left of it. So I just wanted to show you this because, this is basically the future that most urban villages have for themselves here in Shenzhen. Again, some of them are being renovated, some of them are being gentrified, but for the most part, they're all being torn down and destroyed. right here. This is what worker dormitories look like in China for construction workers. Let's go on this side and see what it says. So yeah, these are going to be workers who are doing the subway. It says China subway construction, basically. Blah, 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 company. That's what it says there. So these guys probably work basically day and night building that new subway line and subway station just around the corner. We still have advertising for apartments, maybe old advertisements. They don't have dates on them, so hard to say. Or maybe people still trying to rent out rooms here in this urban village. Oh, I did see a lot of people comment that bikes are left unlocked in previous videos. No, I mean, a bike like this is going to be locked up, as you can see. It's not locked to anything, but the wheel is locked. And here we have signs about propaganda telling you different things. So this one says, don't put your battery, your electric bike battery inside the house. Safety or something is you and me together. We do it together. That's my awful translation, but I think it's pretty close. Safety is something that we all do, so don't burn your house down. Good advice. Actually, China's really cool. It's interesting. Maybe I'll make a video someday about all the kind of slogans, propaganda, signs everywhere that remind you to be a good citizen, remind you to be safe, remind you not to get scammed by scammers. I always find that very interesting. Because I think in America we're more cynical. People will see signs like that and I don't know, I think it's like people trying to take your guns or tell you to wear a mask or something, right? They'll get mad about it. They say, you can't tell me what to do. I want to get scammed, I get scammed. But in China it's more like they're willing to accept, I mean, they accept the signs, they don't tear them down. But who knows if they are also cynical. I don't know. I think Chinese people are more willing to take in the advice of the government putting up signs that tells them to put on a mask during COVID or not to get scammed today. So here we still have a unit that's got a lot of people living in it, clearly. Still standing. 你好。你好。这个不会拆掉吗？不拆。哦，很好。So this building, that guy said, is not going to be torn down. At least that's what he says. And a lot of people live in here. You still have, of course, convenience store. You have home goods stores. You got fans, buckets, umbrellas, sweeps, brooms, dustpans, gloves. Everything you need is still here. Household appliances. And then on the other side, everything boarded up. This building definitely coming down sooner than later. And then here on his side, you have somebody advertising their hair cutter, apparently still in business, down this way, and yet all the blocks are all blocked off. They're probably cleaning up whatever they'd torn down behind these walls. Oh, toilet. Here you can see buildings. Here you can see what's over there. I can't see it, but you guys can see it.
Urban villages like Baishizhou have a sort of magnetic attraction to them. People are drawn to them, whether it is the migrant workers, curious geographers like me, or documentarians capturing the lives, the architecture, or the culture within. It is nearly impossible to stay away once you know that these villages are here.
I just ran into a photographer here who also loves urban villages, and this particular one, and he's shooting photos. And yeah, nice guy. So it's not just me that's curious, clearly, and it's not just all of you who are curious on YouTube.
Qing Niao is a photographer. I ran into him as I chased down this elusive barbershop in Baishizhou.
That Li Fa Din, they're very good at like promotion, like marketing, because I was walking through and I saw the first one, like way out there. I saw a sign that said Li Fa, and it says this way, and I started walking this way. Then it says this way, and then it says this way, this way. So great marketing, because I would have never found the place if they don't have all the signs everywhere.
He has been using his camera to document the end of this village and how it has been changing as it draws its final dying breaths. He tells me the streets are changing every day. One day a building stands, the next day it is rubble. But he still knew the roads, the lanes, and the secret pathways to reach each and every remaining resident and every last open shop.
这里就是刚才我们隔着那个墙，它那边烧东西的，那个烟冒起来的，烧东西应该就是烧东西。
你叫什么名字啊？小白。
我家狗叫小白。
Hi.
We talked and we walked for a couple hours. I asked for an interview with him on camera, as he certainly had a lot to say. But for now, while this demolition is still ongoing and his photographic journal of the end of Baishizhou is still incomplete, he just wanted me to share with you some of his photos and his Xiaohongshu account. And he says that in the future, he will gladly talk about this project and what it has meant to him and to those that he has met here in the smoldering embers of Baishizhou village. The graffiti on the wall indicates if the building has already been emptied of people, possessions, and memories. It also lets us know if the owners have agreed to compensation and whether or not the building will be demolished.
So this means that people already all moved out?
Yes,
And
everyone.
then this one that still has people living in it.
So are these urban villages slums? Of course, each urban village is different, but I do again want to note, even though I've addressed it previously, there were a large number of comments in both of my previous videos that attempted to make the argument that these urban villages cannot possibly be slums because the property values are sky high. There are many problems with this argument, and it can be attacked from many different angles, but to me the biggest one is that the residents of these urban villages are primarily not the owners of the properties. Many people in China, and around the world for that matter, are working poor, living in properties owned by rich landlords, or in many cases we can call them slumlords. Simply living in a valuable property doesn't say anything about the resident or the material conditions of him or her. Again, quoting O'Donnell, redevelopment of Gangsha entailed massive compensation packages and replacement of the dense multi-use urban village environment with an upscale gated community, office buildings, and a mall. The Gangsha renovation reportedly created 20 billionaires. The Gangsha village renovation displaced over 100,000 people. You will remember from the Shipai village video I made that Shipai village has about 50,000 residents in essentially one large city block, with over 90% of the residents being migrants and definitely not owners of the property that they are living in. Baishizhou, the village that we are walking through right now, had estimates of anywhere from 150,000 to 200,000 residents at its peak. These people, for the most part, owned nothing, lived in dense, dark, often dirty conditions, and for many years, for many of them, they were disconnected from city services and basic necessities like indoor plumbing and electricity. But again, that's why we're talking today about the death of the Chinese slum, through a multitude of different strategies, like deliberate city planning, through urban renewal, through providing resources and integrating the villages into the city systems, and through, in some cases, complete destruction, displacement of people, and replacement of entire neighborhoods. The slums in Chinese Tier 1 cities like Shenzhen are on their last legs. Again, look at Changsha village here from the start of this video. It is an old urban village. It used to be part of a massive, dense urban village environment, but now it is clean, it is organized, it is integrated into the community, and it might have a few rough edges here and there, but it is mostly a middle-class neighborhood at this point. It is definitely not a slum. Take a look at Baishizhou. Once the biggest urban village in Shenzhen, it is now nearly entirely destroyed. Soon it will resemble every other modern development in Shenzhen, full of tall apartment buildings, green spaces, office towers, and shopping malls. So much of the character of the place, so much of the history, so many of the stories will be lost to future development. The sights, the sounds, the smells that ooze through the narrow alleyways, they have all given way to what will soon be another formless, indistinct bit of Shenzhen. Now, I'm not against progress at all. I don't want people to live in squalor. I'm not arguing in favor of that. I do not know if these places should ultimately all be preserved or in what way they should be preserved. And I know that if I'm an owner, I would gladly exchange my old handshake building that I probably don't even live in for the promise of generational wealth. I would do that in a heartbeat. I also know that for many of the residents actually living in the urban villages, these urban villages, they represent hope for a better future. They give them opportunities to live in and work in tier 1 cities, in the heart of the city, in vibrant communities full of people like them, full of people also chasing their dreams. Without these urban villages, many of these migrant workers will not be able to live downtown, will not be able to live close to work, and they will have far fewer opportunities. I would guess that for many of them, the benefits of living in an urban village far outweigh the drawbacks of perhaps living in a slightly dilapidated, old, dense urban village handshake building. Before we go, let's take a walk through one more neighborhood. This is a relatively new development called One Shenzhen Bay. I'm not arguing right now that there used to be an urban village here. I don't know what was here before. I just want to take a quick walk through this neighborhood and see how it compares to an urban village. Here's One Shenzhen Bay right here, entrance. I can't go in there, it's all obviously private. Very, very expensive houses in there. Right outside in the front you have this Bentley dealership. This van right here probably costs like a few $100,000 at least. I don't know the price of these vans, but it's a Maybach, Mercedes. So check out this, even their little map telling you where you are here, it's got like gold reflective material indicating the buildings and where you are. Most public maps aren't going to be like that anywhere in the world. You got luxury cars: Ferrari, McLaren, Bentley, Aston Martin, and Lotus. Haute couture and art, wellness, obviously home furnishing, food and social. Yeah. Compared to the shops that were in the urban village, which is like home cooked meals and baozi and like dianpingcha, electric e-bike repair, bicycle repair. That's not what you're gonna find here in a housing development like this. Here we have a Lotus store right next to us. I just can't help but feel how unlived in these places are. These very rich neighborhoods, I guess you can call it. You know, rich people, by and large, or at least the ones that would live in a place like this, they're paying, of course, for a nice house, a nice environment, but they're paying to get away from the riffraff, away from the proles, the poor people, so they don't have to see them, don't have to hear them, don't have to think about them. Obviously, that's just maybe some of my own bias against people who live like this. You can spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on a home here, and you're just gonna be, I mean, I guess the difference is like when you go out, you just go straight to your car, which is parked underground. You don't actually need to ever walk through here if you don't want to, right? You can just go to your car and then drive to where you want to go, office or your villa in the countryside or whatever rich people do, the airport. So, I mean, who even walks around out here and shops and has coffee? I don't know. You have a Vogue cafe going in here. Skyscraper office building. Incredible public art here. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know what to say about a place like this. Like, where would you rather live in terms of, if you can put aside like the quality of the housing, let's say that, like, obviously I'd rather live here in a nice house than like a little shack with a dormitory, right? I think most people would. But in terms of like the quality of the neighborhood,
the people around you, the feeling, being a place that's like vibrant and dynamic and fun, this is not it for me. This is definitely not it.
What do you think? Where would you rather live? You tell me in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you haven't seen my other 2 urban village videos, there are links in the description. Densely populated, unregulated by city planners, and often lacking in infrastructure, it is no wonder some consider urban villages to be the city's slums. Today, we are once again diving headfirst into southern China's unique urban villages. We will first visit a thriving urban village in the heart of Shenzhen before heading across town to visit the last remnants of Shenzhen's formerly largest and most dense urban village. From there, we will visit a new upscale neighborhood to consider what might be lost when we destroy Guangdong's urban villages and replace them with high-rise communities and shopping malls. Please join me and bear witness to the death of the Chinese slum. We start today's tour in the heart of Shenzhen, Changsha Metro Station on the southern end of Futian District, just over the border from Hong Kong. Changsha was once part of a sprawling collection of 5 adjacent urban villages, though now large portions of those urban villages have since disappeared. Before we even enter Changsha, it should be immediately apparent that the environment here looks significantly different from that of the urban villages in my 2 previous Guangdong videos, but especially the Shipai urban village, Slum, in Guangzhou. We will talk about some reasons for this as we get further into the video, but before we do that, let's take a look at the outside of Changsha village, shall we?
Hello. So in one of my previous urban village videos, people asked about garbage. They said, how does it stay clean? Of course, you have lots of street sweepers and cleaners inside the urban village, but outside, the residents can also come dump their garbage in places like this. You know, they have a Laji Fenlei. It's different categories of garbage. So here we have food waste. You can dump your food, obviously. Residual waste, that's your trash. You have recycling, okay? And you have glass. And you even have things like chemicals and batteries right here, right? So try to keep everything separated. I don't know why you have dumpsters here, but there they are. There you go, answers your question. So here also we can clearly see this is like a garbage e-bike, garbage, not a garbage truck. These are the people that can drive through the urban village, through the narrow alleyways and pick up trash. And that's fully electric. Another garbage can area. These are basically lining the entire street every, I don't know, a couple hundred meters. And here you have somebody hanging in their underwear. 10 years ago, there was no cafe culture in China. When I first came to China was 2012, and there was there were Starbucks around, but there were hardly any independent coffee shops. People didn't drink coffee, and that has changed massively. And it's not just they drink coffee, they go and hang out in coffee shops. They've picked up that kind of like European American cultural habit, kind of like a way to show off. They get face, some people, or some people just like coffee or like to work in public. It's different things for different people, right? But just to be able to show that you can just chill in a coffee shop on a weekday and have coffee, especially in a city like Shanghai or Shenzhen, shows you kind of have a next level of status, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. But yeah, just seeing this kind of shop here is kind of really interesting to me because migrant workers typically wouldn't be the ones having coffee. But of course, again, it's on the street, so people will stop by and have coffee there. Another thing that people commented on last time was basically what happens if there's a fire inside the urban village. Again, I did show you, if you didn't skip around in the video, I'm just kidding, that there was like a little tiny fire truck that can drive through the alleyway, but very, very small, can't go through everything. But you also have things like this for the fire brigade or maybe even citizen volunteers, but probably the fire brigade to come. All the equipment's just here. If there's a fire inside the urban village, they can come. They got hoses, they got ladders, they got all kinds of stuff. They got boots, everything hopefully they need to put out a fire and save people's lives. But that's just sitting right here and nobody messes with it. Literally just across the street from the urban village, right there, is a massive, massive brand new mall. This whole entire mall, where it stands, used to be urban village.
Inside the mall, you have, of course, all kinds of international brands as well as Chinese brands. We have everything from Starbucks to Manor Coffee to Chaji to Coco. Oh, those are all drink shops. 不好意思. So you also have other stores too, like makeup and fashion and all that stuff. And a McDonald's right over here. And now instead of having densely packed, really, really narrow alleyways and low standing buildings, 6 floors or 8 floors high, you have these massive skyscrapers full of apartment units right on top of the mall. Just outside of the village is a fresh produce and meat market. You can see it is clean and well maintained, and that unlike many markets in more rural parts of China, and the rest of Southeast Asia for that matter, there are no live animals and no wild game. We have goose, duck, pork, Cantonese style. And you got a shovel. Go, hello! Whoa, he's a scary looking guy. Alright. So as I said, that market is just right across from the mall. And the mall, you just emerge from there. It's right here. Here on the ground, you can see markings for where you're allowed to park your bikes. Of course, not everybody follows all the rules, but here, more bike parking markings. But you can see they have the Sanluncha, the tricycles. Pretty well organized, actually. Pretty well organized. People are following the rules. And it's not always the case. But Shenzhen people will be pleased to hear me say that Shenzhen is actually quite a civilized city. A Wenming Chengshi. Here you have charging for the e-bikes. And it's covered. Even in America, for our electric cars, not our electric e-bikes, we don't have covering when you're charging. But in China, you do have lots of cover charging for cars and even e-bikes. Pretty cool. So I just want to point out that there's a massive street right here. It would be impossible to get across. If you're living in, say, like Houston or somewhere in the States, right? You're never going to be able to cross the street because they're not going to have a pedestrian bridge above it. You're going to have to walk, I don't know, if you're lucky, way down there or way down there and then cross the street. And it's going to be an awful experience for pedestrians. But see, in China, we have lots of these footpaths, these bridges that cross the big roads and small roads for that matter. And this one even, as you can see, allows for cyclists and not motorcyclists, but electric bicyclists or scooters, mopeds to actually go up as well. If for some reason you're unfamiliar with what these people are, who they are food delivery drivers, and they are not construction workers, despite what you may have seen on other channels on YouTube. These guys are not construction workers. And these are, of course, share bikes, this yellow one. You can rent those for a very, very cheap price. You may have seen those in your country. Maybe pre-COVID, a lot of Chinese companies were bringing their share bikes to the masses, to France, to Canada, to the States. But most of them are probably all gone now because a lot of them did go belly up. Even here in China, there were so many. You've probably seen the bicycle graveyards on the internet. But there still are some that are operating, the ones that have survived. Buzzing with activity. Okay, let's go. Before we venture into the urban village today, we're right on the outside of it. I just want to show you what kind of stores, what kind of shops are here, how they serve the community, and how this is just a really vibrant community that you can do everything, you can get anything pretty much just from walking out of your house. Very, very convenient. I mean, the first one we see right here is a cigarette shop, so you can get that. Here you can get your feet cleaned, your feet scrubbed. You got t-shirt, 68 RMB there for a dress shirt. You can go to a job interview. Here you have a fresh fruit and veg market. Here, through here. Again, we're not going to go in yet, but you can get your keys cut. You have a locksmith. You have this guy who can probably repair pretty much anything. You can see it says air conditioner repair, house electronic repair, water, everything. You can get it all fixed there, internet, everything. So this guy's an all-purpose handyman. You can also buy some electronic goods like
power supply, I forget what they're called. I'm stupid. My English is bad. You can get light bulbs, everything in there. But we're not going in yet. Hello. And right here is a pharmacy. Literally everything you need, 5 minutes away. Here is also a bakery. You can get fresh baked bread. And e-bike repair. They will repair it, fix it up, or put a new battery in it. All that stuff, give you air for your tires. And that's you can also buy e-bikes here as well. Very, very needed in this area because everybody gets around on e-bikes. Ooh, here we go. Got duck head, duck neck. Hello, ni hao. Here you get steamed bread, you got dumplings, mantou, baozi. Another one, youtiao, baozi. This is youtiao, it's a Chinese donut. Some dumplings, burritos, Chinese burritos. And this is liangpi and rojiamo, so this is like food from maybe northwest China, kind of like Xi'an, Shanxi area. Wide variety of food options available in Urban Village. Just like last time, you saw it before. And here we have chao cai, so that'd be like fried, stir fry, I guess, with rice. Kind of like what you might be familiar with, or probably are familiar with Chinese food in general. If you went to a shop like that, you would find something that you could eat, even if you're picky. Fried pork with some green peppers and rice. Here is Chinese dessert. More specifically, it's more like southern Chinese dessert, I would say, like tang shui. So you can see that right here. You get mango, pearls, red beans, and probably some ice and coconut juice, something like that. You can put lots of different toppings in there. It's pretty good. Still not going inside yet because they want to show you something before we get in there. It's way down here. I saw it when I exited the DTA, the subway, sorry. My Chinglish just naturally comes out. I can't help it. Again, outside of the subway station, outside of the urban village, you have power swap stations for e-bikes. Right here, you can just come here, scan a QR code, and you'll get a fully charged battery. Now, these are perfect for, delivery drivers. They will come and swap their battery and they can get back on the road and get back earning money because they make money, just like everybody else. They make it per ticket usually. Maybe they have a base salary, I'm not entirely sure, but per delivery, so they gotta keep on going. So they can swap the battery really, really quickly, just like you've seen in EV cars too on this channel. You can swap a car battery, swap a moped battery, back on the road immediately. Value Chain Hotel, just as part of the urban village, just on the outside. Pretty affordable for a 7-day hotel. This tricycle here appears to be some sort of a bar. So it says Ganbei in Chinese there, that means cheers. Beer here, and this says Street Side Jietou Club. So I've never seen this before, this is really interesting. And that is skating. So that's a cool little business, I guess. I don't know where you would find them, where they drive to, maybe right here. Here we have like a beauty clinic. You get your skin done. I don't know what else. I don't go to beauty clinics. And a convenience store here. Another cigarette and alcohol shop. We have milk tea and coffee. And here we have a photo studio. You can get wedding photos, or visa photos, ID photos, all that kind of stuff. Here is a main entry and exit for the Xiaochu, or the urban village. Actually, right now it's only an exit. So probably there's only one way in, maybe, or maybe 2 ways in with cars. So you can see you can leave here, but this way is all, hello, you guys take a picture of me, all blocked off. And also you can see just beyond the urban village, very, very high sky rises, new apartments going in.
As I'm sure you've seen, the residents in this urban village are well served and most of their daily needs can be easily met within walking distance. For everything else, they have no need for a car, as Shenzhen's massive and cheap public transit network is easily accessible just minutes from every single resident's doorstep. As we enter the urban village on the main street, you will notice how little vehicle traffic there is. For most communities like this, the few roads that are here are primarily for commercial vehicles like delivery vans, taxis, and for the few residents who do actually own their own car. This is not a road designed for through traffic. This helps to ensure the urban village remains safe, walkable, quiet, and livable. This is an environment that is built for humans and not for cars. The urban villages here in southern China, and in particular Shenzhen and Guangzhou, have long been a first stop for rural migrant workers attempting to find their fortune or even simply a sustainable way of life in the big city. The urban village long provided a vital source of affordable housing for the migrant workers upon whose cheap labor the city's prosperity has been built.
你喜欢住在城乡村里面吗？
当然肯定要说喜欢，肯定都没人喜欢了，肯定想做的好一些了。是外省过来的，
是哪里的？
四川，
四川。
对，
在深圳多久
20多年。
20多年。
对，
一直在城乡村里面吗？
对，不，这里是刚过来，住这边也有很多年了。因为我的孩子是在这边学初中3年级。
OK， 你是什么行业？
我是做电子行业的。
你今天不上班吗？
不是，我今天刚调休。我觉得其实城中村的话，就是很多来深圳的人，他在一定的就是说在为了就是有些每个人的工作不一样嘛，就是说肯定每个人是想做的舒服一点，但是有些在经济能力达不到的前提下，可能做一个过渡啊也是很好的。其实他这边就是在深圳市内的城中村的话，它的那些还是很便利的，就包括生活啊，或者是你的一些出行啊，都还是很方便，到处也是现在。深圳的交通也很方便嘛，就是地铁口啊，到处都是地铁啊，
很方便对吧？
对，很方便。
我可以问你城乡村的房租费是多少吗？
像这边的话，应该是一房一厅是2000多吧
？2000多。
2000多，
还可以吧
？30-40个平。
还可以。这里大部分是四川人还是广州人？
广东人？很多外地，就是包括四川、湖南或者是其他省的都会有一些在里面。
那你们都说普通话吗？
大部分都是吧，基本上。按理说就是在深圳这个地方，就是习惯了都是以普通话交流了，就是包括有时候老乡在一起的时候，有时候都不自然的就说普通话。
那你有老乡的朋友在这里吗？
有啊。
有吗？
有。
你们说你本地的话吗？
我们说我们四川话。
四川话。
对，就是在一起的时候会说。
挺好的。
下午就约了几个四川朋友一起聚一下，然后
挺好，
吃个饭什么的。
谢谢你。
你是哪个国家的？
我是美国人。我非常喜欢城中村，在YouTube
油
管。
油管上面的是吧？
对。
能知道你的号吗？
可以。
但油管我好像是没有，但是
我也有 B 站，但是没有人看我 B 站。我 B 站很少。
B 站很少是吧？
但是你可以看。
你加个微信，我扫你。
好的。
然后回头我去看看哈。
OK。
那挺好。
好，谢谢你。Thank you. Bye. Thank you. That guy, Joe, was extremely nice and informative about life in an urban village. So that was very cool. Very cool. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. If you watch my original urban village video in Shenzhen, I did talk about like gentrification. I talked about the mistress villages. I talked about how there's still lots of like vice and things like that in urban villages. But honestly, they're all quite different. If you did watch that first one, and then you watch the one in Guangzhou, which was extremely dense, the most dense in China. It's very, very dark. Alleyways were basically, covered. It was so dark. It was like nighttime. You can see they're all very different. Like this one, long and narrow, but quite a bit of sunlight. They're not so close together. And I would probably argue, although this is my first time here, just from experiencing a little bit, I would want to say a little bit more of like an expensive, upper class, in comparison, urban village. That's just a guess, just initial observations. It seems like it's very well taken care of. It seems like it's more of like families, just by judging by what's in the windows. Probably lots more local people here, maybe people who have lived in Shenzhen for 20, 30 years. Because as you probably know, this is a relatively new city in China, very new city in China. But these urban villages have existed for a long time, and the city just kind of was built around them. But honestly, it's kind of hard to find a lot of the history of each of these urban villages, at least in English. I did find some stories. I'll put some links in the description talking about urban villages and talking about redevelopment plans, gentrification. But for the most part, it does seem like the ones that exist now are going to probably mostly continue to exist. There you go, more rooms to rent. 一房一厅. I feel like down here might be the most closely packed buildings in this whole urban village. These might actually be handshake buildings, in the point where, like I've told you before, you can reach out your window and shake the hand of your neighbor, so they're called handshake buildings. There is apartments where you can rest your heart. And here you have another set of firefighting equipment. I just love how these places are just, teeming with life. You have stuff everywhere. People hanging their clothes. You have their decorations. They got like a jack-o'-lantern over here. Bowl. You have your teapot. Dusty. Hasn't been used in a while. You got the razor wire here, with all the clothes on it. Although I personally feel like this community here is a lot quieter, a lot less hectic than the first two I was at. It seems a lot less dense. I still find it to be a very fascinating place, and I still just love walking around in this kind of place. But it's just so darn quiet back here. You don't have too many guys like this, like him, driving through on their electric bikes, making deliveries. Go back and watch the previous one, link in the description. So narrow, and so many people riding motorcycles and wandering around. And this one's a lot more chilled out. Here we have adult products, 청년용品. So this is like gonna be sex toys and condoms and things like that. 24 hours, you can buy whatever you need. Condoms there, probably some lube. You got some stuff that I'm gonna have to blur out on YouTube. This one is a Japanese girl's private part. I'm sorry I can't speak very clearly about what these things are, because I will get demonetized. I guess I make my money on YouTube these days. I don't work, so gotta get what I can. I'm not gonna show you, but there is definitely adult services place there. I know people got mad last time I showed it, I talked about it, but there was one, and you just gotta believe me. It's still here, it still exists. There's no reason to be ashamed of it or deny that it exists. I don't know why people do.
According to Mary Ann O'Donnell, there are two distinct eras of urban villages. During the era of the new villages from 1979 to 2004, villages were not treated as part of the city proper, which meant that the city did not provide residents with public water, electricity, and sanitation services. After 2004, in what she calls the era of the urban village, the city actively began integrating urban villages into medical and educational networks, as well as providing them with essential services. At the same time that these urban villages were being integrated into the city proper, many were marked for either rejuvenation, partial demolition, or for total removal. Over the past 20 years, the majority of Shenzhen's urban villages have been destroyed and replaced. O'Donnell provides two examples of the different strategies for urban renewal and their effects. She states that for the Tianmian renovation, the urban village was comprised of 4 general areas: high-end commercial, high-end residential, mid-range commercial and residential, and low-end commercial and residential. This layout has allowed for a diverse spectrum of residents and livelihoods within the village, suggesting an inclusive understanding of rural urbanization. This was in 2004. Just 5 years later, Shenzhen started the redevelopment of another urban village at Gangsha. The Gangsha urban renewal entailed the construction of high-end commercial and residential buildings. When Gangsha village was demolished, an estimated 100,000 people were evicted. Only villagers who had equity in the old village would receive compensation and could afford to return to the newly rebuilt area. The majority of the residents of Gangsha relocated to other urban villages that were not as conveniently located, i.e. not in the city center, but pushed to urban villages located in outer suburbs. By now, it should be clear that Shangsha is an urban village that has not just been maintained, but has also been upgraded over the years. The massively connected urban village cluster that it was once a part of is now much smaller, less dense, and its categorization as a slum, if it ever could have been called one, now clearly does not fit the bill. Shenzhen and China killed this slum through improvements in living standards, wages, connectedness, and basic services. Next, let's head across town and look at another slum that has been killed, utilizing a totally different method. From Changsha Metro, it's just a quick half-hour ride to Baishizhou Station. The interconnectedness of the urban village with both the rest of the city and to the national rail network is vital to Shenzhen's migrant population. The metro system is part of a well-integrated transit network. It is clean, efficient, safe, and affordable, even for low-income workers. Reliable public transport, as well as affordable housing, is what provides opportunity and hope to many of the residents of Guangdong's urban villages. For an in-depth look at Shenzhen's metro system, check the link to my video in the description.
Hello everybody, welcome back. This is an urban village in China, in Shenzhen. And I was just out over here, just in the normal part of the city, normal roads. All the typical stuff you will see in a Chinese city, which I showed you in the last video. And then we come into this entrance here. And this is an urban village. All right, so as we walk into the urban village, we can just see how dense, how full of life it is, how many different types of shops you can find in here. It's really, actually a really incredible example of, I would say, an urban environment and human ingenuity and human adaptability. Because, hey, you have everything you need in a very, very small, compact, dense place like this. And I don't know, I think it might be kind of a difficult place to live, but also a very lively place to live. So here we got everything from chicken wings to chicken feet to the insides, the heart. All the organs, everything. Got blood over here. 我说大部分在那个城中村都是外地人，租的店家，都是同一个地方吗？不是，都是广东汕头。汕头。好，谢谢。这里做生意都是汕头人。So that guy just told me that most of the people here are from Shantou, which is a city not too far from here, a couple hours drive. So I don't know if I mentioned it yet, but I guess I can mention it now, is most of the people that live in these urban villages now are not local people. They are Waidiren. They're from different cities or different provinces around China. And that's because they're mostly migrant workers. They come here to work from those places to make money, because Shenzhen salary is quite high compared to probably their hometown, wherever they're from. They're probably not even, they're probably from Shantou, but probably not even from Shantou city proper, I would guess, but I can't be sure about that. But most likely they are like from the outskirts, from the farms, the villages near Shantou. So now we're kind of walking through the main alleyways. Very, very dense streets. Got motorbikes coming through. So here we have a beauty salon. It may very well be a place for prostitution, but I cannot be sure one way or the other. And I'm not going to go in there and ask. That's another thing I guess I can talk about. You know, here in China, there is actually quite a bit of vice. Like this one's definitely, almost assuredly, prostitution right there, most likely. Again, I can't be sure. But these neighborhoods, especially here in Shenzhen and in Dongguan, which is another city nearby that has a lot of neighborhoods like this, very, very famous for vice in China. A lot of people would come from Hong Kong and they would come to Shenzhen or to Dongguan to party, to have fun. And we're out. So actually these urban villages, these handshake buildings, these kind of neighborhoods, they're actually very, very famous as well for being villages where people will stash their mistress. They call them arnai or xiaosan in Chinese. And so they also have villages, like there's a village in Shenzhen that used to be known as the arnai cun. So it's like a mistress village. And supposedly that village and other villages like it have kind of been cleaned out of the vice, of the prostitution, of the mistresses. But you know, it's hard to say for sure. And like I just passed two, you know, beauty salons where just girls are sitting in there doing nothing. And it's not like there's chairs for doing your hair, right? With like little bedrooms or little, not even bedrooms, just like little private stalls where you would actually go to get your needs serviced if you are a person who needs those kinds of services. So just look how freaking dense it is in here. These buildings are so close together. You can see this building and this building. These are two separate buildings, but you can see they've actually been built with these kind of cages on the windows, and they're fully attached together all the way up. You can see buckets up there stacked in between the buildings. It's crazy. So I would very much like to be able to get into one of these buildings. I probably should ask, but hey, let's see if there's nobody around. I don't want to go in anybody's house without asking, of course. But the thing about these buildings is how dark they are. They're so close together. There's not a ton of sunlight. So here we go, walk up to the second floor and check out what's going on up here. There's the front door. The washing machine right here by the front door. All their household supplies. Look how dark it is back here. So yeah, there's the front door right there. You know, it's actually quite interesting because in my last video I made about this, where I mentioned these buildings, some of the comments were very interesting because there was a person, I think from the San Francisco Bay Area, who said he moved out here to Shenzhen. He didn't really know what he was getting himself into, and he found an apartment in an urban village, and he quite likes it because of how lively and busy it is, and that sort of thing. And then there was another comment on the last video that said they came to Shenzhen maybe 15 years ago. And at that time, they moved to an urban village as well. They were a migrant worker or just a new arrival in Shenzhen. And they thought it was a great place because it was so affordable. They could kind of get out here, start their life in Shenzhen, in the big city, find a job and save a lot of money living in a village like this. But in my memory, the commenter said that now they find that it's almost kind of hopeless to come to Shenzhen and start your life and start a new dream here because of how expensive everything is. So if you want to look at this from like an urbanist perspective, as you can see, it's a totally walkable community. It's no cars, obviously, impossible to get a car down here. But you have all these electric motorbikes and bicycles, scooters, all that stuff. You know, you park your car, if you do own a car, on the outside of the community and you walk in. It's really amazing though how much life is actually outside of the home, outside of the building. People might say it's messy, people might say it's a slum, but it's actually, you know, it's relatively well taken care of. It's not like garbage everywhere, it's not a big mess. It's just a place where there's lots of life and people all kind of crammed together. You know, one thing about China that I gotta say is, even in the most poor places in China, they're still very, very safe. And you don't have a lot of people like robbing you, committing crimes on you. Of course, I say that, but you know, all the buildings, all the windows, they all have cages on them. Even as you go up, that's because the buildings are so close to each other. So, I mean, there must be some concern about thieves crossing over from one building to the next, jumping across and stealing your stuff. But I think for the most part, in a community like this, you're absolutely not going to get, you know, beat up. I have no fear walking around here like I would in perhaps a similar like slum type area in another country. It's not just China though. Like, I've been to poor parts of a lot of countries in East Asia and Southeast Asia, and I would say it's all very, very similar in the sense that, like, you know, you're not going to be hurt or attacked or stolen from. Definitely won't be robbed. Nobody's going to physically have an altercation with you just for visiting their neighborhood. It's not like your turf, you know. It's not like a like you see in America. And I say that, but I've never actually been harmed by anybody in America either, walking through so-called dangerous neighborhoods. I mean, I try not to do it, but I've never really had a bad experience. So here you can see all these e-bike parking. They have public chargers. So you just come here, you plug your bike in right here, and scan the QR code, and you just pay with WeChat. So that keeps the chargers, the batteries out of the houses. It prevents fires from, you know, battery fires. So hopefully make it safer, because there have been previously fires from batteries in these houses, or in any houses in China, high rises too, not just these urban villages. So it's great how it's all mixed use. Of course, this is kind of like a knick-knack store, everything, repair store, Weishio. They can repair your air conditioner, on the sign says, your refrigerator. They have all this stuff, whatever you need, your washer and dryer. You know, you can probably buy used ones, or they'll maybe salvage these for parts and repair your stuff, because it does say professional repair up there. And then you've also got, you know, convenience store, home goods. You got shampoos and soaps in there. Cigarettes, of course. And here you have a massage and a hello, 你好, no thank you, 不用, 谢谢. So here you have like Chinese medicine. You know, there's just so much feeling. Like, it's interesting because there's a lot of places in big cities in general. This is a city, of course, with like 13 million people in Shenzhen, but a lot of cities, they're very sterile. They feel not so exciting, especially Shenzhen, if we're being honest. And this is the kind of place in Shenzhen that still feels very lively. It still feels like people are actually living here and not just existing, not just going to work and back. So I do love these kind of places. I like to take walks in here, especially on a bright sunny day when you have really, really harsh shadows, because of how, you know, of course, how dense it is. There's not a lot of sunlight. It's great for taking photographs. Here in Guangzhou and like Foshan and Dongguan, all great places if you're into street photography and these kinds of really, really beautiful, fascinating places. Like even right now, look at how amazing the shadows are. And it's an overcast day. How dark it is. So one interesting thing about these urban villages is that a lot of them have been demolished or will be demolished, scheduled to be. And it's actually been a little bit, I would say, maybe controversial a little bit, in the sense that a lot of people think it's obviously very important for there to be affordable housing in a city and housing for migrants to come. But also a lot of people are worried about the lack of history or the elimination of history. But then you also have people who say it's, very messy, very crowded, not safe. And the government has at a lot of times felt that way as well, and they've ordered a lot of these places to be demolished. But actually, it's interesting because there's now, recent years, more of an urban revitalization idea for a lot of these places. Let's check this out, dormitory. So you got 4 beds right there. Those girls over there are hookers for sure, because they saw the camera and they took off running. One girl's like, come on. So here's a real hairdresser, a real beauty shop right here. We got meatballs. Oh, here we got huandun, wonton is what we call them in English, I guess. Huandun. So right now it's like 5 p.m. and you can see just how active and how much stuff is happening, how lively it is. It's really, really great. When you compare it to like a typical xiaoqu, and again, a xiaoqu is just like an apartment kind of block that's mostly, almost entirely residential with maybe a little bit of commercial. This is much more lively because those kind of xiaoqu are usually, maybe people will be hanging out like at night in like a central area, maybe, or maybe there will be an area for like sports, athletics, maybe a ping pong table. But for the most part, those kind of typical xiaoqu are really, really quiet. Here is more like a living, breathing city. So even here on the walls, we have some really, really, really cool art and really interesting, beautiful. And we also have a notice board where people can post information about apartments that are for rent, for example, or even jobs. Like this one should be about a job. Looks like looks like maybe a street sweeper or something, or cleaner. So it's like green something management. I think that would probably be like a person working in the parks or planting stuff, grass and things like that. You also have a lot of apartments for rent. So like this is like a single room for 600 RMB, very, very cheap. And there's no agency fee, it says. 免费, 中介费. So that's cool. You can see just how affordable living here can be. Here's another job. They take a man or a woman, and it looks like maybe cleaning again. Maybe like 打扫阿姨, I'm not entirely sure. No salary on there. You have this one just advertising work right here, but it's just like long-term or short-term, like part-time. Not a lot of information about what the job actually is. But you can see how a place like this is actually really, really vital for a community, like for people who are migrants to this area. They might not know anybody, they might have only a little bit of money in their pocket, so they need to find a cheap place to live and a place where they can find a job. And so if these places actually all kind of continue to get paved over, redeveloped, turned into shopping malls and high-rise apartments, it can really maybe put a strain on immigration or migration to this city. So I know that there's a lot of concern over that from local people, from migrants, and from the government itself, and that's why there's still so many urban villages, even though a lot of them have been lost to time, lost to development. There still are tons of them here in the city and all across Guangdong province. So if for some reason you do own a car and you live in an urban village, you could still theoretically park it. You do have to probably pay to park, because when you first come in, there is an arm to get in, and they read your license plate and all that stuff. And then this is basically the only parking lot in this urban village here. I'm sure probably they do have monthly parking, and not just hourly or daily. It's probably pretty affordable as well, but most people aren't going to have cars that live in this neighborhood. So then we have underground parking as well, but you can see it's not full, which is very, very rare for a place like Shenzhen, where apartment complexes are usually overflowing with cars. There's no place to park. So like where I live, there's no place to park. There's a waiting list to get a parking spot. So yeah, these are reserved spots. You can see the license plates right here. And this says 固定车位, which again, it just means it's a reserved spot for that person's car. So these ones down here, monthly or yearly reserved parking for these people. And up top, it looked like it must have been a free-for-all. But yeah, not too many people driving around, owning cars, because owning a car is very expensive, especially in Shenzhen. Hello, 你好. So of course, again, it's really great that young kids can walk to school, no fear of strangers. They're not with their parents. They walk to and from school. And, everybody kind of looks out for each other. In all the neighborhoods in China, in Shenzhen, there's not a lot of fear of stranger danger. Kids are walking around the city, taking the subway, all around. But even here, especially here, it's like no big deal to see little kids hanging out by themselves. So here on this main road, you can see like these are real hair salons. They have real chairs, real barber sign right here, the swirly bird light right there. Like these are real hair salons where people really go and get their hair done. And then those ones on the deep insides that say like beauty parlor, and they don't have a chair, and they don't have really anything that would indicate actual real beauty types things happening. Those are more like place for hookers. So these like more, lots of people getting their hair done around here. Little restaurant. Here we have, I guess, like malatang or jia tuar. This is fried kebabs, fried sticks of meat. So deep fry that for you, whatever you want. Vegetables too. Here we have mala liang cai. Here's another fried kebab kind of place. Hello. Huh?
How are you?
很好，你的背包开了，打开了，我帮你。
Thank you.
不用气 ，OK， 可以了。All right, so earlier I was talking about like urban revitalization, and I can't remember where I got because I kept on getting interrupted so many times by people, by interesting things. Hopefully we can talk about it. Ooh, that's really loud, brakes. Hopefully we can talk about it without getting interrupted too much. So I guess it's kind of controversial here in China because these kind of neighborhoods, they're very important for migrants. They're very important for people to have, not just migrants, but anybody to have affordable housing. There's also a lot of culture here, a lot of history here. These kind of villages existed before the city kind of built around them and grew around them. Right now Shenzhen's a city with like, I guess 13 million people or so residents. And, it's a big city, but you still need to have places for people to come their first home in Shenzhen, their first apartment, or just people who have been here a long time and I don't know, just this is where they live. You need these places, and you can't just tear them all down. And so that's why it's been kind of controversial, because a lot of them have been torn down and replaced by high-rises and shopping malls and that sort of thing. Now, in recent years, there have been some ideas of not tearing them all down, you know, redevelop them, reprioritize like what they actually do, like make them safer, make them more up to modern standards, or even develop them into like tourist or shopping districts or whatever. So kind of like Tianzifang in Shanghai, which is more of like a Shanghai-style urban village, because they're very, very different. All around China, you have different styles of urban villages and architecture. But here, they have like an ancient village. I think it's called Nantou. Been there a couple times. It's an urban village that has been redeveloped into like museums and art district and restaurants and shopping. And people still live in there, but it's also, you know, been modernized and cleaned up. And you have another one, which I forget the name as well, doesn't matter, but it's like basically all bars. Like if it looks like this right now here, in that one, it would be like all the first level, definitely all bars, nightclub, not nightclub, but more places for the night, like maybe billiards halls, things like that. Second floor too, maybe some bars and restaurants. And there will still be people living up top above it, but it's also been redeveloped less into like a zone for people living and more of a place for entertainment. And so those still exist. One thing that they have done is not just make them safer or anything, but also cleaned up a lot of the vice. But as you can see from walking through here, there still are places where hookers are around. Prostitution's still a thing. There's also, I didn't show it because I don't really want to cause any trouble. Hey, 中国人,你好. I don't really want to cause any trouble or anything. Like, you know, that's not the kind of content I want to make, and I don't want people to get mad at me. I'm here in their home, in their neighborhood. And so like there was also a little gambling parlor, mahjong, cards, poker. But you know, that's just life. That's just, you know, people have to survive any way they can. It's also totally understandable why people want to maintain their way of life and maintain their opportunities that they have thanks to a place like this. So anyway, it's just a little quick snapshot of life here in China and Shenzhen and in a Chinese urban village. If you do like this kind of thing, I guess, definitely go watch my video that's more of an essay, not just a vlog of me wandering around. The Future of Chinese Cities. That one's good. It's linked in the description. And also, if you do like this sort of thing, leave a comment, and I will certainly go try to do more videos like this, and even kind of check out the difference of urban villages in other cities. Because I'm probably going to Shanghai soon. So they have Shukumen, which is like their urban village equivalent, which are very, very different. We can also go to Beijing if you guys want. Go visit that, and we can go see a hutong, which is their equivalent of an urban village. You can see how they all compare and contrast. So that's about it. Thank you for watching, and I'm going back to the real wide open spaces of the city now. Blue sky starting to come out, which is great because it was almost a cold day in Shenzhen, almost. Not quite, but I am wearing a hoodie, and that's very rare for this city. So yeah, just look around, you can see obviously how different it is. You have cars honking, you have buses, you have a lot more open space. You can see the sky in that urban village. Nothing but darkness. Darkness, darkness, darkness. What do you prefer? Leave a comment. What do you prefer? Do you prefer a small, densely packed, walkable city where everything is at your fingertips, from vegetables to prostitutes? Or do you prefer a place like this where you have nothing but honking and you have yelling and screaming and just madness all around? But you have to get in a car to go shopping or get on an e-bike to go shopping. What do you prefer? Let me know. See you guys later. It's not nighttime, guys. This is not nighttime. This is not a hallway. These are two separate buildings here.
你看我们的大馒头好不好？
Nearly 1 year ago, I posted this video documenting an urban village in Shenzhen. 400,000 of you have seen it, and for that, I'm very grateful. But when you suddenly have a much bigger audience than you are used to, you start to get very different feedback from what you are familiar with. Some of you took offense to the word slum in the thumbnail. We'll talk about that later in the video. Many of you didn't like the color grading. Some of you didn't like to see my face, while others of you decided to deny that China has any crime at all, least of all crimes of vice. I took your feedback to heart and decided to take another walk through a Cantonese urban village, hopefully rectifying all of your very serious complaints. This time, I take you through Shipai Urban Village in the city of Guangzhou. Our journey starts in the heart of Guangzhou Tianhe district, with wide boulevards and fancy new office towers and apartments. We even got to pass by a nail house on our way, the ultimate holdout against future development. From here we cross under wide boulevards and over dry canals until we reach our destination, Shipai Cun. Shipai is one of China's oldest and most dense urban villages, covering an area of approximately 1 square kilometer with over 170 alleys and 50,000 residents. Just like the urban village we visited last year, this village primarily serves low-income, rural migrant workers who come to Guangzhou from other parts of China. We'll talk more about it later, but for now, we've arrived. Let's take a look inside.
So this is going to be my first time as well at this urban village. This is Shipai Cun, which I guess kind of translates to stone tablet village, something like that, stone plate village. So here's kind of the main street, I guess, as we enter. We have Fan, which is pig rice, pig foot rice, delicious stuff. We have a fast food restaurant, lots of little fast food restaurants. We have Changfen, a lot of good stuff. We'll probably come back later as we walk through here. So in my previous video, I talked a lot about what the urban villages are, why they are, how they are, why they still exist, who they serve. Basically, migrant workers from other parts of China, or mainly other parts of Guangdong province. Today, we're not going to really go into that because you can watch that video and see all the details, the nitty-gritty of an urban village. Now, today we're just going to try to take a little walk around, talk to some people perhaps. It is Saturday morning, a little bit after 7 a.m. And we're just gonna, again, kind of see what we can observe and see what life is like in one of the most densely packed places on earth. Right here is a elementary school, Shipai Xiaoxue. Shipai Elementary School. Very, very Cantonese, very Hong Kong, Guangdong style here. Really cool. Let's go further into this village. Of course, you can see just how lively it already is. A lot of people here at 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Here we have some more handshake buildings. We talked about those last time. Handshake buildings because they're so close together, you can reach out and shake the hand of your neighbor. You got rooms for rent as well. If anybody wants to rent it, you can scan that QR code and maybe talk to the landlord, find out how much it costs. So they have big rooms, single rooms. They have rooms with 1 bedroom, rooms with 2 bedrooms. They got it all. Here we go, lots more of advertisements. You can see these people are renting single room and also, again, Yifang, Yiting, lots of them available. And they don't have any prices. Here we have a grocer, a green grocer, fruits and veg, and also other products back there, dry goods. It's a supermarket. Let's go down here. You're just gonna see how dark it gets down here. There's like no sunlight that can get into these places. It's really amazing. Look at that. It's incredible. Onwards we go. More apartments for lease, for rent. It's like pitch black down here. And remember, it's daylight outside. This is not a hallway. These are two separate buildings here. That's freaking insane. Not a hallway. This is a road. So we got sandbags. I guess there was construction going on, maybe. Yeah, the bricks as well. Somebody doing some renovation. Look how close they're built. Look, you got units right here, apartments. Those apartments are like professional apartments. Those aren't like one person renting out their unit. That's like a company with units there. If that makes a difference, I don't know. But probably mostly for short-term stays, for migrant workers, for students, or people who are just coming to Guangzhou for the first time to try to earn their fortune. So right here is Northeast China Dumpling Shop, closed right now. It is so incredibly dark. It is not nighttime, guys. This is not nighttime. I don't know how this guy finds where to deliver the food to. Or how anybody navigates these. I'm gonna get so lost in here. So even here they have face recognition camera right there. Oh my God. So that's how you get in your apartment. Facial recognition for that one. Somebody's bicycle's down there. It's freaking nuts. Let's go down here. Just the entrance to somebody's house. So once again, like last time, all these bikes you see, all these e-bikes, they're not motorcycles, they are electric. And again, it's illegal to bring your battery inside your house in China. So you gotta charge them outside. I'm not sure how these people are charging their bikes down here. Well, here's one maybe right here. Oh no. I'm not sure how people are charging their bikes down here. But if you remember in the last urban village, there was lots of outdoor charging in the public areas. Here, not so much. At least not yet, not from what I've seen. I've got a CCTV camera right there, keeping tabs on people. And I am totally lost. I have no idea where I am. I guess can't go this way, dead end that way. Gotta follow this lady.
In the thumbnail of my previous video, I called the urban village a quote-unquote slum. This was done primarily because I hope to challenge people's preconceived notions of what a slum is, or even what a slum could be. Of course, there are many definitions of a slum, but a typical characteristic of a slum across all definitions is that it is a densely populated urban environment occupied by low-income people. I was in no way trying to imply that these urban villages are bad places, but instead to show that just because a place is low income or filled with migrants, that it doesn't mean that place is dirty or dangerous. It was meant to pose a challenge to people who harbor negative feelings towards people they perceive as below them or different to them. The other reason was to show that if the local government cares enough to provide services to these places, that they can also be pleasant, safe places to live that are vital to communities. Other countries around the world can learn a thing or two about how to manage low-income neighborhoods from these urban villages. Some people tried to argue that because the land and the buildings here are highly valuable, that they cannot be considered slums. I find that baffling because most of the residents here are not owners, and there are plenty of landlords across the globe who are rich but can be considered slumlords. According to Wikipedia, of the 50,000 residents here in Shipai Village, only 9,000 are village locals. The rest are a non-native floating population who, quote, come from all over the country, mostly from rural areas, dwelling in houses rented from villagers, and earn their living in the city, most of whom are driven by economic forces, end quote. So you can see the residents here are primarily temporary and have chosen to live here in the urban village primarily for better economic opportunities than what they can find back home.
I need to remind you, I'm outside. I am not inside a shopping center or a mall. This is outside, and it's daytime. Got 肠粉. Should I try some 肠粉? 你好，来一个肠粉。
肠粉。
肉的。
要哪种？
肉。
肉的。
肉。好，谢谢。All right, so we're gonna have some 肠粉 and 肠粉 is very traditional Cantonese breakfast. We'll see what it's like in this little urban village. Should be pretty affordable. I don't know the price. I guess probably 10 块. We'll see.
微信收看12元，谢谢惠顾，欢迎下次光临。
All right, 肠粉. Okay, guys, this is 肠粉. Here I got some 辣椒. Throw that on there. 筷子. Let's try it out. So it looks like this version has some sauce, some meat, bai cai or something, and that's about it. Really quite nice. It's mostly salty, but I did add some chili pepper, give it a little bit of flavor. Not so bad, huh? It's actually really, really good. Might be one of the best 肠粉 I've ever had.
只要路线程序员，我可以随时出现这个片段。你在某些孙子就要多一点耐心。
多少多少钱
8块钱。
8块。谢谢。你住在这个长江村吗？
啊。
怎么样？这里？生活还好吗？在这里，生活还好吗？在长江村里面。是不是很热闹？你哪里人？
啊？
你是哪里人？
潮汕人。
潮汕人。
微信收看8元，谢谢惠顾，欢迎下次光临。
好，谢谢。
慢走。
All right, so that was a really good little breakfast there for just 8 RMB. Wow. And now look at that. Got roasted duck, pork, crispy pork. Everything looks great. Here's another breakfast spot. You got youtiao, Chinese donuts. 你好，你好。油条、麻圆、豆浆、白酒。
就那个别人摆摆。
Here we have Sichuan and Hunan food. And we have sour fish. A lot of restaurants. This place probably just popping in the daytime. Another sour fish restaurant. By the way, if you haven't had Swan Cai Yu, you definitely got to try it when you're in China. It's so good. There's Ma La Tang, another great dish that you got to try when you're in China. Wow, look at that, pig's trotters. Wow. So here in the middle of the urban village, we even have a little, not a police station necessarily, but a Bao'an room, so a security guard room right here in the middle of this place as we kind of exit into the light again. Here's a board for rentals, probably for jobs as well. Looks like all rentals right now. I don't see any jobs yet. But if you do remember from the Shenzhen one, lots and lots of jobs posted as well in this area on these public boards. This one says really cheap room, dormitory. Really amazing place, huh? So of course, you can't get garbage trucks in there. So you got to have sanitary workers go in and do all the cleaning and the hauling out the garbage themselves by hand. Very, very shinku job, but it's got to be done because it actually is quite clean in there. You didn't see piles of garbage around or anything like that. The ground is all kept pretty much immaculate, as well as it can be for an outside place full of, again, 50,000 people living in there. I think I might need to go back in and explore some more because it looks like I'm out and I don't want to be out. Just one thing that I've noticed compared to the urban village I looked at in Shenzhen is actually, at least so far in the daytime, there's not so many beauty parlors, massage parlors, things like that, which I talked about. Some of them are fronts for, other activities, and some of them are legitimate. Let's go down here. But I haven't really seen any signs for beauty parlors or massage parlors yet. There must be a spot in here for that, because even legitimate ones, people need haircuts, people need, their hair did, their eyebrows did, all that stuff. So it's got to be around here somewhere. So far, it's mostly just been restaurants, groceries, and of course, apartments. I believe I do need to just reiterate that it is not nighttime. I didn't cut from the outside day to nighttime. It is daytime still. It is just this dark. And of course the camera has auto exposure settings on right now, so you can see still. But just look at how dark things are. You should still be able to tell. Just utterly mind-blowing to me. People who live and work down here, they might not see the sun very often. Again, these are perfect places for really, really dramatic shots for photographers. Just such strong shadows, such an amazing light, especially when the sun's overhead in the daytime. It's when you get the harshest shadows, the most direct sunlight you can get in that little alleyways. It is pretty cool.
Wonder how long it takes for people's clothes to actually dry out here with no sun. They're hanging them. There's no wind, there's no sun. Might as well just keep it inside the house, eh? Hey, I just sounded like a Canadian for a second. Don't know why that happened. There's advertisement for some apartments for rent. Basically a studio, right? You got one bed, closet, refrigerator. That's the washing machine over here. Table, no kitchen. Oh, maybe a little kitchen, I guess. A little sink, and you can bring a little hot plate. Price probably very, very cheap. Probably 1,000 kwai, probably like 150 bucks a month. That's just a guess. I actually have no idea, but it seems reasonable. More security cameras for foreigners to be paranoid about. Like, it doesn't even make sense how these are built. So like this house right here, can we see this? It's like between these two alleyways. Of course, a lot of these houses were built without any real regulations in mind. But you got these two alleyways here, kind of a square house. And then this one right here, it's more of a diagonal triangular shape, I guess because of the alleyway angle. So that kind of juts over here into this alleyway, to this opening. I guess you just build wherever you can, whatever you can, until somebody comes and tells you not to. Get as much square footage as possible. So I guess this guy's gonna buy your recycling. You call him up, he'll pick up your plastic bottles and stuff, I think. Got advertisements for broadband here as well. I don't know how they wire everything up. It's pretty insane. And I feel really bad for the Wi-Fi delivery guys down here. It's gotta be just awful driving through here looking for houses. You know, a lot of communities in China, they have the Wi-Fi, the delivery guy, just put the food like at the entrance gate to the village community, and people got to go out there and pick it up themselves. But for some reason, they don't do that here, which is kind of crazy, kind of shocking to me. Okay, so we finally see a job opportunity here. 2 jobs even. I'm not sure what the first one is. This says open the store, Banju Kaiye. And the second one is for a person to cut vegetables and prepare food. We have another grocery store, convenience store. Cleaning supplies. Such a wide variety of foods. So here you have mutton noodle soup, basically. Here we have a medical clinic. That's not food. Here we have dim sum. Here's a big store full of duck stuff. So this apartment way back here, deep in the heart of it, it says this apartment is
Everything has been completely renovated on the interior. That's what it says. So you can call that number if you're looking for a nice, modern, clean apartment in the heart of this urban village. Yet another grocery store here. How do they even get their deliveries back here? Here's another one, fully renovated apartment. It even says they have 24-hour security, they have hot water heater, they have air conditioning, got everything you need. They even have professional management. Oh, here we go, here's a hair cutter. Hair cutter for men. Only 25 renminbi, very, very affordable. Got pretty sweet haircuts, check that out. All right, we're out of the urban village once again, back to the main road. Let's go see what's out there. This right here, actually, 沙县小吃 is basically like, I would consider it to be like the Taco Bell of China. It's like very, very basic fast food. You find it everywhere, affordable chain store. Even my brother was in Thailand just recently. We were in Bangkok together, and I took him to eat Xiaxin Xiaochi in Chinatown in Bangkok. So that was kind of fun. It's like, you know, you come to China, you eat that. It's like an American, or it's like somebody going to America to eat Mexican food and they get Taco Bell, in my opinion. So anyway, back to the main road. Here we go. Chaoshan food. More 肠粉。不吃，谢谢。Here we have 韩国料理. That's Korean food, probably barbecue or hot pot or something. Oh yeah, I have hot pot. I see it. What else they got? Barbecue. Yeah, I got it all. They even have stone pot rice bibimbap. Delicious stuff. Hello. Got such a wide variety of food down here in the urban village. You got food from Lanzhou, from Hunan, from Sichuan, from Korea, from Guangdong, of course. You have everything here. You got people trying to get to work. Oh man, it's so dark. So all these banners and stuff on the door, basically asking for good blessings, for fortune, good luck, money, all that stuff. And usually every year at Spring Festival, they're gonna change all those that are around the door. So this will probably be down and different in a few months. 送外卖在这里是不是很困难？是吗？真的很复杂。So this shop got their delivery. They got frozen pork. It's like they got some chicken. A lot of stuff that hopefully will get picked up soon before it starts to spoil. This is another pork foot rice restaurant, 就叫饭. Angry. Again, a reminder, you cannot bring your battery or your scooter inside the house. That's forbidden. It's illegal. You're going to burn down a lot of people's homes if you do that. But yeah, I don't know where they're charging out here. It's not like the one in Shenzhen with chargers everywhere in the public area. Like you see all these scooters and bikes right here, all parked, and there's no setup for charging. Very interesting. People will find any kind of business that they can do. So here's a sign that says 老三二手回收卖单车 冰箱洗衣机. So this person is buying, selling secondhand bikes, refrigerators, washing machines, basically anything electronic or valuable. He'll buy it off you and sell it. Here we have a locksmith. Get a key replicated or get your door broken down if you need to, if you lock yourself out. Most people nowadays have locks that are with fingerprints or with a fob or with your face. Even down here, as you've seen, lots of face ID to open your door. Oh my God. Holy shit. Almost broke an ankle. So this alleyway doesn't even have an official name, but it just says 7th Alley. I mean, that could be the official name, but it doesn't have like a sign on the door, right? Like this one, not on the door, but on the alleyway. It's this one. Oh yeah, 7th Alley. Okay. Still got it. So here on the outskirts of the urban village, we even have a park. Not much of a park, but a park nonetheless. I'm sure once it warms up, a lot of old people will be out here sitting down. So here on this corner, back out to where we started. Again, here's the school. You also got another little police station, security guard station, but it's also a fire station. So here it says fire station, blah, blah, blah. Here's a little tiny fire truck. I remember somebody did ask in the last video about what happens if there's a fire. Well, I can't imagine this little fire truck can actually get through all those alleyways because it's bigger than most of them. But that's how I guess they fight it. That's one way anyway. But ideally, nobody brings their battery into their house and starts a fire. Or nobody starts a grease fire cooking. But you never know. Things happen. Here is a Baozi Dian. Here is Yanrou Bao. Jibao. Hello. It's Xinjiang Yanrou, 没味的。来一个烤包子。一个。一个包子要多少钱？5块。5块。谢谢。Okay, so I got my second breakfast of the day from the urban village. This time it's a Yanrou cow baozi, which means mutton baozi, dumpling. So it should have some Yanrou and some ziran and maybe some onions or garlic or some other stuff in there. We'll see. $5. Tastes pretty good. I always love cow baozi. But I feel like a lot of times in southern China, you go to the Xinjiang places, they don't have cow baozi. I don't know why. It really makes me mad. But you go up to like Xinjiang or Gansu, Ningxia, you're gonna find a lot of cow baozi. You come to China, you gotta eat this. Look for green. Basically, anytime it's a Muslim restaurant, it's gonna have green signs. That's a pro tip for China. Maybe for everywhere, I don't really know. But definitely for China, you're gonna see Lanzhou Lamian, halal food, Qingzhen. Green. Just look at how this place comes alive, so lively and safe. Now it's a little after 8 a.m. Still on a Saturday. Day hasn't changed. Still Saturday. You can see a lot of people out here getting their breakfast, going to work, living life. Just a really, really, really nice place. Xiao Go Go. Hey, buddy. Just say the Xiao Go Go. Just say the Xiao Go Go. Look at that, it's very loud, but look at that. That's how they keep it so clean in here. They got the guy deep cleaning the alleyways here. They probably do that like once a week, at least, everywhere in here. That's pretty crazy. Shucking of the corn. Man, I walked through here an hour ago and this place was dead. Now look at it. It is alive and kicking. The heck is that, an elephant? 你好。这是啥？
这个是羊脖子吧？
羊脖子？什么？
羊蝎子。
羊蝎子，哦，这是 here 是他的蝎子。
So this is I guess Yang. Yeah. And this is his spinal column. You can get Yang Xie as a hot pot, which is really nice if you're into that sort of thing. More cleaners everywhere. Always cleaning. Gotta keep this place spick and span. Let's check out the map. So we have a kindergarten, we have a park, we are here. Another park. I don't know if it's like a museum or what, something Guang. We have a basketball court. We have the school we just passed. I'm not sure what that one is. Oh, I gotta look at the key. Okay, these are cultural relic protection sites. So it tells you everything you need. Service for delivery, man, for Waimai. You have recreation and sports facilities, different parks, basketball court, and then you have vegetable markets. So you can find everything you need here on this map as well. Oh, this is beautiful. Nice little place full of tranquility, serenity, just like Bonnie Doon. And here is the kindergarten right there. What a really cool, fascinating place to go to kindergarten, right? My kindergarten was definitely not this interesting. And now we have a lovely blue sky as well as the sun rises here in Guangzhou. So this is like Gushang or Shanggu, depends on which way you read it. I guess it's on a valley. Maybe this really dense, narrow alleyway is a valley. Maybe, I don't know. Here we do have a pile of trash, but I'm sure that'll get picked up today. It's a very rare sight to see. Man, dark down there. You know, one thing you're going to see on a lot of YouTube videos about China is talk about how safe China is. And people are not lying when they make those videos. You know, I criticize a lot of other YouTubers just for being completely insane, really, in my opinion, with how they present information. But in the case of how safe China is, like for the general person, if you ever do want to come to China, visit a urban village, whether it's a Cantonese urban village here or similar villages in other provinces, even though this place is a village for people with low incomes for the most part, for migrants, you know, in America, a lot of people might find that scary, low income immigrants. They might find it dangerous. They might think there's roaming gangs around. But here in China, you're not gonna find that at all. It's totally safe to just walk around.
basically anywhere in China. People are not gonna bother you randomly. You know, people. If you start crap, you might get crap, right? That's the same as anywhere. But for the most part, there's no random like strong arm robberies and things like that. So you can come walk around an urban village, a place like this, which I called a slum previously on my thumbnail and people got mad. But you can come to a place like this and never have to worry about your personal safety or even your belongings. Like, you're not gonna get your phone stolen out of your pocket. Most likely. Obviously be vigilant, be aware. But I have no worries at all being in a place like this ever. And as you can see, a lot of women, single women walking around, carrying a purse like that. It's not worried about somebody gonna drive by on a motorbike and snatch it. And which is actually interesting because it used to be that people would do the drive-by snatchings, especially in Guangdong. But that was a while back. Things have changed. I mean, I say that, but I've never seen that personally myself. I just heard about it. I've seen things happen in Guangdong, fights and things like that, but I've never seen like a bag snatching. Anyway, here's another clinic. You can get, it's a dentist's office too. Internal medicine, I guess, and a dentist. Interesting combo. You know, even here you have this fruit vendor. They leave a lot of their products just outside overnight, and it's still there the next day. You got whatever these are, pomelos or something. Not even sure. Probably a lot of other stuff underneath this tarp. And they're not worried about somebody coming and stealing their fruit. People are honest for the most part. Have yet another clinic right here. I always think these guys with all the propane tanks on the sides of their motorcycles, they're like a video game boss from like the 16-bit Super Nintendo era. Like, they're gonna drive past you through these alleyways and you gotta shoot them in the tank. That's just what I think of. Hello， 你会说英语吗？
中国的馒头吗？
你会说英语吗？
我不会。
哎，你住在城庄村里面吗？你住在这里面吗？
对呀。
你觉得怎么样？城庄村？
中国村怎么样？很好啊。
很好吗？
你的中文讲得好吗？
谢谢。我说你为什么觉得城庄村里面很好？
城庄村里面不好吗？
我也觉得很好，但是我要了解一下。
了解一下。
这是热闹还是方便还是什么？
方便啊。
方便。你哪里人？你哪里人？
河南人啊。
河南人。
跨到外国去看我们的大馒头好不好？
应该挺好的。我看一下吗？
看我们河南的大馒头好不好？光是面呢？
都是面。
发到中国去啊，还是老家去啊？
哦，你说这个视频吗？
对呀。
对，在油管。油管外国的平台。
外国的平台。
对对对。
那我们的产品要推销到国外去啊？
馒头吗？
对呀。
我们美国也有馒头。
美国的馒头跟它不一样啊。
在唐人街，有没有去过吗？
没有出过国。
没有。这里都是外地人吗？
外地人比较多。城中村人多啊。
人多，也没有阳光，没有太阳，对啊。那房租费这里那个店怎么样？
可以啊，还不是很贵。
不是很贵。大概多少钱一个月
？1000块啦。
几千块？可以的。也住在这里还是住在另外一个地方？
住在外边。
你做生意吧。好，谢谢，拜拜。Delivering.
好，齐了。有啊，多少呀？
哎呦。The sounds, the smells, the sights, it's all, not all indescribable. A lot of it's very indescribable for people who are not here. Obviously you can see it, you can hear it a little bit, but it's not quite the same. You get the full sensory overload, the full experience when you're walking through an urban village like this. You walk through the village and you smell people cooking, you smell garbage, you smell life, right? You hear the same thing, you hear life, you see life. It's just very, very, to me, like this is, again, that's not the place that I want to live, but it is a place that I think is very, very vital and important to cities, to communities, to have places more or less like this, maybe a little bit less dense, maybe a little bit more sunlight. But for the most part, just to be able to have places where people can come and exist and not be priced out of the downtown area. So important. People can come to a city and have opportunity thanks to places like this. That's all. Okay, staring at me like I'm an alien. I know I haven't been here yet, but I feel like I've been here already because I remember earlier there was like a vegetable or fruit vendor and a Dongbei Shui Jiao place right across from it. And I got it again.
Things just repeat themselves. Another supermarket here. You gotta be ever vigilant as you walk through here. You might get hit by a scooter or a bike. There's another Chongfen restaurant like what I just ate. It's nuts, all these buildings. They're different buildings. It's not one building. It's a building. That's a building. That's a building. Obviously, that's another building. That's another building. That's another building. That's another building right there. It's freaking mental, huh? Here we go, roasting the duck. Oh, it smells so good. Oh, another one. 2 giant duck ovens. Spinning the ducks around, roasting them. Let's see if we can talk to these people. 你好，
你好，
我看一下这个鸭子，
你看哟，
要烤那个鸭子多久
烤2个小时，烤熟。
？2个小时，挺香的。谢谢，拜拜。Really smells freaking amazing. So here in this building, it looks like an apartment building, but also on the second floor, you'll see there is a billiards hall and mahjong parlor. So you can come here and play mahjong, do a little gambling, have a little fun. Guangdong. So we're gonna go in here right now. The sign says it's the North Community Old Person Activity Center. So I'm not an old person quite yet. I don't know if I'm welcome in here. I don't know what the activity center has. Oh, just a couple people sitting around. Got all these buildings. You hao. 这是老人活动中心。什么活动？
什么活动都有。
什么都有。你们不算老。
不算老。
你们还年轻。
啊，不老。
To address the one other complaint that I got a lot in my last video, that I show too much of myself and not enough of the urban village, I get that. One of the many things that makes me an awful YouTuber is that I don't like barging into strangers' lives with a camera. They didn't wake up asking to be on camera and broadcast to the world that day. When I go out filming, I only try to engage with people who engage with me first or who seem eager or willing to be on camera.
好，走了，拜拜。
I hope that this time you do appreciate that there's less of me and more of the environment in the urban village here, but I've still tried to be respectful and not to broadcast too much of people's lives.
On fire, maybe? Melted? Anyway, those guys over there, they don't want to talk to me. I always wonder how people on YouTube always get people to open up to them all the time. They just want to sit there and smoke their cigarettes and not talk to the foreigner today. It's fine.
直播？
没有直播，就是录视频。
哦，
看一下。
哦 ，OK。Hello。
你英文很好。
没有。
哎，你住在城庄村里面吗？
是。
你觉得怎么样？
可以吧？
可以。
哎，现在治安问题啊，那些东西都比以前好多了。
是吗？为什么？比较干净还是什么？
也干净了，治安呢都很安全的。
安全，你口音不是这里的？
不是。
你哪里的？
湖南。
湖南什么地方的？
知道湖南不？
我知道，我去过。
去过。
肯定。你在广州多久？
差不多30年吧。
30年？34还是30
？34。
哇 ，OK。那现在休息吗？今天？
没有，我吃早餐了。
然后去上班。
是。
好的，那辛苦你。
OK。
好，拜拜。Tattoo. Oh my gosh. That is butt. 哎，你好，Hello。
你来到这里啊？
我过来这里看一下。我觉得城庄村挺有意思。
是啊。
你也觉得吗？
中国最大的城中村。
最大的对吧？
等这里。
5万。OK， 你觉得怎么样？可以吗？
那肯定可以，也可以，什么都赚多点。我们是本地人呢。
你是本地人？
一直往前。
OK， 好的，谢谢。
直走。
好的。
我在后面跟着你。
对 ，OK。
最大这个城中村。哎，这里啊，帅哥。
这里，这是出口吗？OK。So this lady's trying to tell me how to get out.
我不跟着你，你不会走的。
你怎么会记得路？
那肯定记得啦。你在广州中。
没有。
说得很好哦。是哪国的？
我是美国人。
美国人啊。就是想出去还是到里面去？
都可以，我就是玩一下。
里面你往这边走有一个庙。
一个庙。
往左拐。
Okay, 好，谢谢你。That lady is so nice. She told me how to get out, and then she said, "Oh, there's a temple up this way." Oh, it smells like there is more beautiful smells. You can smell the incense burning. Wow, that was really cool of that lady to show me this. Or to tell me where it's at. It smells great. Xiao the temple. So we have some offerings down here. I don't know if that's Mazu or what. Here we have another board for apartment rentals and jobs. No, just apartment rentals. even just says so up on the top.
低分啊，低分啊。 So this also is a 老人活动中心 apparently. Opens at 8:30 and now it's 8:53. Not open today.
We're almost done, and if you made it this far, I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this look at Guangzhou's biggest, densest, and oldest urban village, which, by the way, dates back to the 1200s, nearly 1,000 years old. Now, in my next video from Guangzhou, I will take you to the Chocolate City, aka Africa Town. I bet that you didn't know China had an African town, did you? Subscribe so you won't miss it. Thanks for watching.
All right, I think it's just about time to get out of here. I think I've had enough urban village for today. Just gotta look for the sunlight. And that could be signs indicating an exit.
现在我看一下哈，
女生美容
马上
美发
非常就个节
Goddess Beauty and Hair Salon. You tell me, is she a goddess or not? Okay, we made it to the exit. There we go. And we are out of the most biggest, densest urban village in all of China. We made it. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit overwhelming in there at times. Hello. Hello.
Welcome to China.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Okay. Nice to meet you.
你英文这么好，
我会一点点。
是吗？一点点。
啊，你中文也很好呀。
没有，一点点。
是博主吗？
差不多。
啊，在 YouTube 上。
YouTube 有关，也有 B 站，但是 B 站好小哦。
做什么内容啊？
我喜欢的，随便拍。
OK。
今天去看那个长江村。
啊。
你住在里面吗？
我不在里面，我是刚喝完酒过来。
我看起来是。
可以加你微信吗？
可以。
你来中国多久了
？13年。OK。
看起来没有那么老，很年轻的。
是吗？
Yeah。
很多人在 B 站说我是看起来50多岁、60岁。
没有，看起来你像20多岁到30岁那种。
谢谢。
对，挺帅的。哦，
对。OK。好，谢谢。
OK，好。
拜拜。再见。One very interesting thing about the urban villages is you don't even know they really exist, right? So I'm just out here on the main street, just outside the urban village, and across the street you have tall apartment blocks, tall buildings with elevators, things like that. And then just over here where I'm standing, to my right, behind all this row of shops right here, is the urban village. And these are all, no elevators, walk-up buildings, very, very densely packed. But you don't even know it's there unless you know it's there, you know what I mean? Like, it just kind of blends into the urban environment and the landscape. It's just almost like a little bit like a hole in the town. In a town like Guangzhou, for example, or Shenzhen, where there's lots of high-rises. Because everywhere else there will be high-rises, right? And then here it's just a little like block of low-rise, but it's all set back from the community. Only a few entrances.
So you don't know what's behind all these shops. To my right is, 50,000 people living back there. You don't know it. It's really quite shocking. So that's about it. That was fun. Okay, see you guys later. Bye.